Welcome back to the Rob Dibble Show.
No, it's not Roseanne.
I know. Every time you play this, I think it's Roseanne's coming on. We just got back from a commercial break.
I always think it's the Outlaws. What's that song?
Green Grass and High
Green
Tides.
Grass and High Tides forever.
There you go.
Yep.
I still think they stole that from Roseanne. Sampled.
Sampled.
They sampled it?
That from Roseanne. Oh, show. Game 7. Game 7. Let's do it again. Had one last night. Let's do it again tonight.
I was on the edge of my seat until I wasn't. That was quite a game. The Phillies game was a stinker. That D-backs game was. The Phillies were never in that game and never really pushed the D-backs, and the D-backs dominated that game. And not maybe offensively, but defensively and pitching wise, that was well done.
There's a lot of ducks on the pond that they left stranded last night.
But they never looked like the Phillies were going to. Right. They tried to mount an attack, but it wasn't like the Astros had me nervous at the beginning of that game. Until they got Scherzer out of there, I thought the Astros are in this game. Montgomery came in and absolutely put that to rest. Garcia's opposite field home run that made it 4-1. That was it. That was the cherry. And but. Game 7s, man. I mean, I don't care what sport it is. I always look forward to it, whether it's the NHL, the NBA. I mean, the one thing about football is it's one Super Bowl game. That's it, and it's over and done. With this, you've played 6 times. Here, let's get back to that game though. The road team between the Astros and the Rangers, the road team won every game. I think it's only the 4th time it's ever been done. But the road team came out with 4 wins, and the other team had home field advantage.
I can't say that the home field advantage is dead, though. Like I still
no. I honestly,
big deal tonight.
But because the Philly fans are fanatics, not just because of their mascot. Yeah. I played there for 7 years as an opposing player. And it pumped you up, though, as an opposing player. I don't see how it can bother the Diamondbacks. Now, the Astros, the Astrodome was more noise deafening. I've been to Minute Maid many, many times. It's not something I think that would distract me. I honestly think Philadelphia would distract me the way it is today. Veterans Stadium didn't bother me. This ballpark does. They seem like Wrigley. They're right on you. And Wrigley's got, 39?
Yep.
They've got 49. Right on you. They kept those little you-know-what's down in the bullpen on you. I hated that. Loved it, but still hated it because every time you got up to warm up, every time I just got up to stretch my legs, 10 guys were there screaming at you. And it was like, oh, God. It's like they're watching your every move. And if you watch, like even Merrill Kelly warming up, man, there's dudes they're catcalling at that poor guy, and he's just trying to do his job. And it's like they're not going to let you. So again, if the Diamondbacks get out with a run in the first or second inning, and Fott can hold it down for a couple of times through the lineup, just get through the 6th guy. Get to the bottom of that order. Not saying that it's easy at the bottom of the Phillies lineup. Then it sets the tone that, hey, we're not afraid of you guys. Here's the one thing I think about Schwarber, like you said. He's got so many postseason home runs. He's got, I think, 5 already this postseason, or in the series, where he is a tone setter. So getting him out as a pitcher, that's my job. I don't want to walk him. See, Trey Turner is so good going to right center and right field. I don't want to let Trey Turner come up and move him to second, or if possible, hit a double and get him in. Because I do think Schwarber's got enough speed to score on a double all the way to the wall. And then Harper comes up. Harper seems to always come up with people on base. Harper always seems to be like the guy that I don't think coming up with big hits is hard for Harper, even though it is extremely hard. But I think that's a guy, like he's already said, I've got all the money I need. My family's taken care of. All I got to do is hit a baseball. I think he simplifies it and slows his mind down so much. There's no one that intimidates him when he gets up there. Now, Schwarber's a little bit different because he's a hacker. But I think when Trey Turner and Harper get up there, it's a whole different deal.
Top of the third, there's a man on third. I think it's Marsh, and Schwarber's up to play with 2 outs. I was screaming, this is right after the show yesterday. I was telling the boys in the studio, just intentionally walk him. Save some pitches, put him on first. Now, they pitched to him. It did throw him a 3-2 4-seamer, which I think you call the FU pitch.
Yep.
That was the only 4-seamer I saw other than a bunch of cutters for him. So he was going after him, but did eventually walk him.
Right.
Then got Trey Turner to flare out. Now you start the fourth when you come back out there with Harper leading off, nobody on.
Well, so he can only do damage with 1 home run,
exactly.
and that gives you peace of mind as a pitcher if it will.
Right.
Because I always think I own the situation statistically. You know, whenever I was looking at averages and I'm thinking, listen, if he's a Hall of Famer, he's getting a hit 3 out of 10 times. I'm still successful 7 out of 10. So I go into at bats facing the best when I was pitching. You're already beaten by me. Even if you do get this one shot, I'm not upset about that. So that's why I don't like to walk guys, because if all of a sudden now a guy does hit a home run, that's 2 runs immediately. Or if there's already a guy on and so now it's first and third with 2 outs, a 3-run homer is going to crush you. It's not going to be easy to come back from that. So that's why I never really like to intentionally walk guys unless there was a purpose to it, setting up a force play, setting up a double play. If it's second and third and 1 out,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to out any base. So a ball back to third, he steps on the base, he throws it to first, we're out of the inning. So everything I did percentage wise in my brain was to get out of the inning. This is what I try to teach guys, that with a guy on base and 1 out, you're 1 pitch from getting out of this jam. Why are you putting so much pressure on yourself? So I think that, the analytics is applying pressure where it doesn't need to be. That's where it's like, guys look at, I honestly think having a script, the card that these guys go by, it makes it harder on them. Because they're referring to that all the time. I have something to refer to, How about you just remember? How about you go over stuff, you remember it, and then it's like, hey, I'm in the flow of the game. I don't need to, take time out and look at this card that's been prepped by some nerds that aren't playing right field, and that's what bothers me the most.
Well, I think with that too, like, you're expecting what the card says to happen, even though the card says this happens a percentage of the time.
Right.
You should know in your head, it's baseball. We're hitting it with a round bat. It can go anywhere at any time. And I think without the card, you leave in the back of your mind, something could happen other than the regular.
But here's what changes all the time. The variable is the pitcher. It's always a different guy with a different pitch, throwing a different speed. Yeah. So there's no way that you mathematically could map out every play. Some plays are just going to go awry. Sometimes you throw a great pitch, like even Abreu last night, or even Altuve for that matter. They hit balls off the end of the bat and they're still base hits. Yeah. There's no way you can come up with an equation to give me the answer to all of these different questions. And there's sometimes I'm thinking, now the one thing that the pitch comm does do well is it lets the shortstop, second baseman, and center fielder in on the conversation between the pitcher and catcher.
I agree.
So there's 5 people now that know exactly what pitch is coming. That's huge, because before you had to tell guys, hey, here comes a curveball. I mean, you're basically trying to communicate during the game, which is a little, it slows it down, And so for me, I like things to be sped up. I do like that. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, here comes a changeup. Right as soon as he goes into his windup, I'm going to move. Whereas before, there's a lot of times that this is the game within a game that people may not notice that I was taught at a young age. Let's say you're a power pitcher, and so you're playing the other way because there's no way this guy's going to pull you. Now all of a sudden, this guy's going to throw something 10, 12, 15 mile an hour slower. I've got to shade a step that way. A lot of guys would cheat early, and if you're a smart enough hitter and you saw a guy take that step like at shortstop or second base, all of a sudden you know a breaking ball is coming. Exactly. And guys are that smart. I don't know how they are today. I'm talking about my day. And that guys would set you up. Some of the guys I played with, Eric Davis, Dave Parker, Buddy Bell, Barry Larkin, guys like that, Ken Griffey Sr., they swung poorly on balls so you throw it again. They made you throw them another of the same pitch. That's how good they were. So I hope guys are thinking like that. And having an approach of I'm trying to get that guy to give in to me, because that's the way baseball, that's the way I was taught how to play.
I hope they're allowed to think that like that.
That's what bothers me, is that you're taking a lot of this free thinking. This is what I'm going to do right here, because Harper did it the other day. Harper tried to lay down a bunt. You know, if Mickey Mantle, and I say this all the time when I'm trying to tell young kids, if Mickey Mantle could bunt once a series to keep the other team honest, and there's a reason for making the third base and first baseman cheat up by even faking a bunt, make them take a step in so I could shoot a ball by him. That is a thought process that I don't know a lot of guys are getting up there thinking, hey, I'm going to fake bunt right here, you know, maybe protect. Like last night, Garcia, there was a man on first, it might have been Carter, stole second. And when he took off, Garcia swung through it on purpose, which kept Maldonado back for a millisecond, and he couldn't throw him out. You know, there's guys that don't understand that part of the game, and they'll just be like, "Oh, he's stealing. Okay, I'll just take a pitch," and you just let the catcher come up and throw him and throw your guy out. No, you swing through it, which keeps the catcher back, so there's no catcher's interference, and so those are just the little things that hopefully these guys are still being taught.
Here's some analytics for you for tonight's Brandon Pfaadt, the young 25-year-old who's getting the start in Game 7 in the NLCS for the Diamondbacks. He has only walked one person in his last 5 outings. That includes a couple of regular season games with the White Sox and the Yankees.
Command.
Milwaukee, Dodgers, Philly. All those games were in the playoffs. Just one walk in those games. That was against the only time he really got roughed up, and that was in the division series against the Milwaukee Brewers. However, he gets out of that game and the Diamondbacks win eventually. But this guy, a lot of command. Doubt he will be walking many people on purpose.
I'll tell you what, though, they have a short leash with him. All of those starts, by the way, 5 2/3, 2 2/3, 4 1/3.
The 2 2/3 was against Milwaukee,
right?
Gets beat up,
and he got beat up. But again, if you look at his regular season beat up total, in 18 starts and 96 innings, he gave up 61 earned runs for almost a 6 ERA, but 22 were home runs.
He was 3-9. He wasn't not to put it on an all-star team.
To give it to you bluntly, he's a fly ball pitcher, and against the best hitters in the major leagues, like the Phillies, you've got to be cautious. Maybe let him go through the lineup 1.5, 2 times. There's no way he's getting into the lineup 3 times. Not going to happen. And Lovello's way too smart. That's where analytics comes in. When I look at his statistics, I'm like, okay, the third time through the batting order, they're probably hitting 400 off of him, and so there's no way we're going to let that happen. And if I had like his mile an hour and stuff, I would say, listen, by the 6th inning, I bet his mile an hour and his fastball and his stuff and his spin rate, as you might say, on his curveball, I bet a lot of that stuff goes down, and it's stuff that you could like look at right at. Oh, geez, the spin rate went from 2,800 down to 2,400 by the 6th inning. His fastball goes from 97 to 93.7. You know, I mean, those are all tangible things that, that's where analytics for me comes in, because that's where a lot of these home runs were probably hit.
Ranger Suarez has had really great outings his last 2.
I just love the name Ranger, by the way.
I do, too. I think it's a perfect baseball name here, Ranger Suarez. The Atlanta Braves beat him up in the first time they saw him. And other than that, he got out pretty quick. They don't really keep him in that long. He's only given up 1 earned run in these playoffs. He has only given up that earned run was a home run. But last outing was his best outing. 5 1/3 against the Diamondbacks early on in the season. He did have 7 strikeouts. That's his best total in a long time. I think these guys are kind of equally matched here to start Game 7.
I think Marte is leading off. Carroll got moved to number 2.
Whoa!
So Marte, who has owned Suarez in 18 at bats, he's 8 for 18 with a 444. Carroll has not, 1 for 7 with a couple of punch outs.
Okay.
Moreno stays at 3rd. Walker, Pham, Gurriel, Longoria, Rivera, Perdomo. Phillies lineup versus Pfaadt. Not a lot here because he's a rookie. You haven't faced him a lot
for everybody.
That's right. So they faced him twice in his first outing.
That was the series in this series. So. I'm leaning towards the young kid, man. I'm leaning towards the kid.
Turner and Marsh with the only hits off of him. Everybody else, 2 strikeouts by Schwarber and 2 at bats. 2 strikeouts by Castellanos and 2 at bats. None of that stuff looks good, but it's very small sample stuff.
They need Pfaadt. They don't have much in the cupboard either. They'll have Seward waiting in the wings. Still got Miguel Castro to throw out there. Probably going to see a lot of pitchers tonight. All hands on deck, a lot like last night with the Rangers and the Astros.
Baseball United, I was going to be a pitching coach and go over to Dubai for the Mumbai Cobras. I've since canceled my trip since all the stuff going on over there. But they still had a draft last night, the Dubai draft. 80 players were drafted by 4 teams. They're going to have 20 players a team. 56 former Major League Baseball draftees, including Robinson Cano, Bartolo Colon. Who else was drafted?
Didi Gregorius was drafted third. Pablo Sandoval was drafted
I was going to call him Pedro.
fourth.
Pablo Sandoval.
Robinson Cano was drafted 6th overall. Bartolo Colon, 50-year-old Bartolo Colon. Are you sure they didn't ask him to fill your shoes and
He
be a
might
pitching
be.
coach? And it's like, nah, I'll play.
I'll play.
Forget about
I'll be
coaching.
a player pitching coach. Dibble's a wimp.
He was drafted 16th overall. Actually, you know, Bartolo Colon gets me to the table. Like, I'm sorry. I can
Really?
watch
I think
this
Robbie
guy pitch.
Cano gets me there.
Not as much. It's not much of a. And I don't want to say, you know, a freak show kind of thing, but it is a 50-year-old man, and just this person.
But I've seen
in
him still
particular.
pitching.
Exactly. Every time I see
like Bill Lee.
Whenever you tell me, like, check out the Mexican League, I'm all
Telling you
over
what,
it.
He's like, listen, as long as I get part of the team buffet after the game, I'm in.
I would love to see this. Now, what does it mean if he throws a perfect game or a no-hitter, or Robbie Cano starts raking at the rate of 500? Like, does that mean anything
I
for these
didn't
guys?
think
in
it
this
meant
league?
anything until I looked at that they have other players from the Japanese major leagues in there, the Mexican, the Venezuelan, Dominican leagues. All of these guys have credentials. So if you're 50 and you throw a perfect game against ex-pro guys or now pro in the Baseball United thing, it's still a pretty decent outing because he'd have to go at least 27
What
outs.
mile per hour you think Bartolo's hitting at the age of 50?
Low to mid 80s, maybe upper 80s. on occasion.
I'm totally impressed with that. Like, to me, that is impressive.
Listen, my
man.
teammate Roberto Hernandez pitched into his mid 50s or mid 40s, 45, was still throwing upper 90s. Upper 90s. Robbie was unbelievable. Had an
Impressive.
unbelievable arm.
I think this is going to be impressive if Bartolo will put this league
I'll
on
be
the
impressed
map.
if they could fit pants on that guy. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Please don't. Dibble said. I'm just kidding.
I think it's a good question.
No, it's great. Anyway, let's take a quick break. Come back. NBA begins tonight.
Believe it.